Hello everyone and welcome to another video by Centipede Geek. Today I'm going to review a film by the name of Iron Man 3. This film stars actors such as Robert Downey Jr., Don Cheadle, Guy Pearce, and Ben Kingsley. And pretty much what the main plot of Iron Man 3 is we have our character, Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., and Tony Stark is experiencing anxiety problems. And the reason he is experiencing these anxiety problems is because of the events that happened in the Avengers film. All that he's pretty much traumatized by those events. So several times throughout the film in Iron Man 3, he keeps having panic attacks. He's traumatized because of these events, and pretty much our character Tony Stark is suffering greatly because of the events that happened in the Avengers film, because this film takes place after the events of the Avengers. So we have that going on. We also have another character by the name of the Mandarin, played by Ben Kingsley. And this Mandarin character is pretty much a terrorist, and he is trying to cause destruction in the film Iron Man 3 by setting off bombs, killing people, doing all sorts of stuff. And Tony Stark, pretty much decides that in order to stop this terrorist, he has to stop the Mandarin, so the destruction in the town will stop. That way, the world will be saved. That's pretty much the main gist of the film by the name of Iron Man 3. Overall, my thoughts and opinions on Iron Man 3, I really enjoyed this film as a whole. I only have one minor, and it's kind of a minor complaint. It's kind of a big complaint. It's a little bit of a mixed bag for me. But in whole, I really enjoyed Iron Man 3. But there's one small thing I didn't enjoy, but I won't talk about that con until probably 5 or 6 minutes in, and then I'll get spoilerish about 5 or 6 minutes in. But for now, I'm just gonna tell you guys what I did like about the film. So what I did like about Iron Man 3 was that I really enjoyed how much more character driven that our character of Tony Stark was, played by Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man. I really enjoyed how character driven it was. This is, I thought the first Iron Man film was a great film. I really enjoyed, Jeff Bridges as the villain. Iron Man 2 was pretty decent, I thought. I wasn't too fond of Mickey Rourke. He really didn't have much to work with. But definitely, Iron Man 3 is definitely my favorite out of the trilogy. And the reason I say that is because it's such a much more personal journey with our character of Tony Stark. We get to learn so much more about him. I really think that Robert Downey Jr. plays a great Iron Man, probably the best possible pick for the character of Iron Man in the Marvel Universe. I really enjoyed him. Such a personal journey. We get to learn so much more about the character of Tony Stark than we did in the first two films. In one film, we learned about more of him than we did in two films put together. So I really enjoyed him. Just much more character driven. This film is a lot more story and a lot more concept driven than the first two Iron Man films were. Another thing I liked about it was Guy Pearce plays this man by the name of Aldrich Killen. I really thought Guy Pearce was pretty cool in it. I won't say too much. I'll say a little bit more here in a few minutes. But Guy Pearce I thought was really nice. Just a stellar acting. Ben Kingsley in this film plays the Mandarin, and Ben Kingsley was phenomenal in this film. He will definitely steal the show. He definitely, he kind of overpowers, Guy Pearce's performance just because he just has that sort of presence to him. That's the best thing about Ben Kingsley in this film. He has that certain presence to him that is it's the presence of the Mandarin. He's menacing. He's deceptive. It's just a great presence that the Mandarin had, and I really enjoyed Ben Kingsley's performance overall. The action scenes in Iron Man 3 are stellar. There are several great moments where I really thought that the 3D in the film really helped out the action scenes. I felt like I was right there in the middle of it. Things, flying out of the screen. I thought the 3D was really well done in Iron Man 3, so that was really cool just seeing those explosions in 3D. I always try to go see the 3D version of the film to see, because sometimes the 3D differs. Some films the 3D doesn't really matter, and then other films the 3D does matter. So I really thought that the 3D was just an added benefit, an added bonus to the film called Iron Man 3. So I just really enjoyed, like I was saying, with Ben Kingsley's performance. Robert Downey Jr. He was also great. Don Cheadle plays in this film they call him the Iron Patriot, otherwise known as the War Machine. I really enjoyed the War Machine overall. That was pretty cool stuff. John Fairview actually plays, he was the director of the first two films, and he had a small role in the second film. He has kind of a bigger role in Iron Man 3, and he actually had a lot of comedic lines that I really enjoyed also. I mean, he only has like maybe, like a 30-minute part, but I still enjoyed all the parts that he was in. He played like a security guard, like a bodyguard of, the Stark Corporation in Iron Man 3, so I really enjoyed the parts that he was in also. So like I said, the pros of this film is that the action is great. The ending of this film is absolutely phenomenal. There's so much heart, so much sentimentality, so much, just very sentimental moments, very emotional moments towards the end of this film. There's some great dialogue in this film overall. I really thought that the script was really well written. So let's talk a little bit about those spoilers I was talking about. There's one small minor complaints I have about the film. The film still gets a solid 9 out of 10 because I liked everything about it. The personal journey we saw with Tony Stark, the acting was great. Everything about the film was very entertaining. But there was one small thing that I was a little, iffy about. And now it's where I'm going to get some major spoilers. So if you don't like spoilers, go ahead and click stop right here. Otherwise, keep watching. So the main thing that was the problem with Iron Man 3 was the character of the Mandarin. At first, I really enjoyed the Mandarin. He had some really great quotes, especially, he said when he says, you'll never see me coming. I really enjoyed that quote. He starts off the film talking about how some people call him a terrorist, and, he calls himself a teacher. I really thought the Mandarin had a great menacing presence to him. I thought his outfit looked great. He wore like sunglasses. He had kind of a terrorist look to him. He had wearing like a robe and had kind of like a ponytail that was tied in the back. And overall, I was hoping that the Mandarin would be like this menacing, threatening character. And then, towards the middle, towards the end of the film, you find out the Mandarin is just an actor. He's just a pawn in the real Mandarin's, game. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is that the real villain in this film is actually Aldrich Killian. Aldrich Killian is actually, he's the Mandarin, and then we have Ben Kingsley that's only an actor. So the Mandarin in this film is just an actor. That way, the villain can have this sort of image, and that way, Aldrich Killian can just, work from the sidelines. That's pretty much what the villain is. And I was hoping that Ben Kingsley, the actual Mandarin, would become the villain, and then towards the end of the film, they'd have a showdown. But instead, the Mandarin in this film is only an actor. And then our villain is actually Aldrich Killian. I didn't mind Guy Pearce acting. Guy Pearce, he was great. I thought he was a good Aldrich Killian. But I was hoping that the villain would actually be the Mandarin. I will admit, I'm not very fond of the Iron Man comics at all. I actually had to do a little research to see what the Mandarin was like in the comics. And I found out the Mandarin, the Mandarin in the comics of Iron Man, he's not an actor. He's not an actor. He's like this tall guy in like this robe with long hair. So I was hoping that the Mandarin would be something along the lines of that, because for me at least, this film built so much upon this menacing character of the Mandarin, and then all of a sudden when you find out he's an actor, that concept and that menacing figure is thrown out the window. And then we get, we find out that Guy Pearce, Aldrich Killian, is actually the Mandarin. So I didn't like that plot element. That's my one small complaint. It's a very small complaint. It's not, I am kind of picky about it, but I was really hoping that Ben Kingsley, the Mandarin, was a real person. I didn't want him to be an actor. I didn't want the Mandarin to be fake. But in this film, the Mandarin was fake. The Mandarin was only an actor. That way, Aldrich Killian, was the real villain, and no one actually knew because everyone thought that the Mandarin was real. I didn't like that plot element at all. It's like, when I was watching the trailer for this film, I was wanting, Ben Kingsley to steal the show. And when he was the Mandarin, he stole the show. And all of a sudden, when you found out he was an actor, everything was thrown out the window, and the Mandarin became like this comical guy drinking beer. He became like the comedy relief of the film, saying like these stupid, dialogue scenes, and his character became kind of annoying after that. And I was like, what happened to my, Mandarin? My menacing figure, and that figure no longer existed once he became an actor. That's my one small minor complaint about the film. But everything else about the film, I really enjoyed. Nice acting, Nice personal journey with our character of Tony Stark. Great stuff. Definitely, if you want to see a summer blockbuster film, Iron Man 3 is definitely the way to go. No better way to end the journey, right? Anyways, that's pretty much my thoughts and opinions on the film Iron Man 3. Once again, thanks for watching the video by Centipede Geek. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to my page below, and I'll see you guys later with more videos by Centipede Geek.